Good everyone, welcome to today's video, and today we have a review on the British Hellcat Mark II. Now, just to explain how I'm going to be doing these premium reviews, I'm going to be doing them in the order that I flew the aircraft in. So, the last vehicle of that will be the Russian B-25, because I flew that last out of all my premiums that I acquired. Um, There are a couple of exceptions to that, such as the HS-129B2 or the Romanian Duck in the Italian tech tree. I haven't flown that enough to get any decent footage for it. And obviously with the boomerangs, I'm combining them into one video because they're pretty much exactly the same. So the Hellcat Mark II is exactly the same as your average F6, F5 in both the US and the French tech tree. The only notable difference is the fact that this has a very nice British skin on it, which I really do like. Now, the Hellcat comes in at rank 3, unlike its other Hellcat counterparts. I think the French one's still rank 3 though, and comes in at about a rating of 3.7. Now, the main flaws of the Hellcat, we're going to start off with the disadvantages and then work our way up to the advantages. The Hellcat Mark II is an aircraft that doesn't climb particularly well. With an average climb rate of about 2,500 feet a minute, if that, it really does struggle to get into the sky, and not a lot of people climb in this thing as a result. Subsequently, you tend to see a lot of Hellcat Mark II pilots farming, and I'm rather disappointed by that, but to be brutally honest, I still think this plane is a good fighter. You just have to keep your energy up. Now, other than that, there isn't really much for me to say. I mean, there is compression at about 420 miles an hour, which tends to kick in quite severely. So you got to watch the compression. But otherwise, other than really acceleration and level flight, this thing's got pretty good all-round characteristics. The roll rate is pretty average. The dive speed is particularly good, being a American-made fighter, which tends to have good dive performance. Um, The armor protection on this vehicle is actually pretty good for for a fighter in general. And if you're fighting against the Japanese, you tend to have a lot more tankiness against them. Against the Germans, however, this tanky airframe can only hold up so much. Now, let's get into the advantages of the Hellcat Mark II over a contemporary British aircraft in the tech tree. We obviously A, get a lot more ammo, B, less sparky guns because we get 650 caliber machine guns, and C, we also get access to some ordnance. Well, certainly better than most of the British fighters can actually carry, to be brutally honest. Going into the secondary weapons option, we have a choice of 5 loadouts. 6 HVARs, 2 1,000-pound bombs, 2 Tiny Tims, a Mark 13 44 torpedo, which I've never gotten to use, and the 6 HVARs and 2 1,000-pound bombs. If you're curious as to how this looks fully loaded, here you go. The bombs drop as a pair, the rockets fire as a pair. There is no separate dropping on any of these weapons. And to be brutally honest, the bombs will do anything, or should be able to kill at least 2 targets if you get them next to a target, or at least 2 targets at least, and then you can use the rockets to finish off lighter targets. Now, the HVAR rockets are not great. They only have about 36 millimeters of penetration, and subsequently they lack the penetrating punch. But if you're engaging lighter vehicles or hull breakable vehicles, these rockets will work like a treat. Let's put it that way. In terms of main armament for this aircraft, you have 6 50 caliber machine guns as previously mentioned with 400 rounds each. With a fire rate of 750 rounds per gun, you've got about 30 seconds of firing time, give or take. You're able to stay in the fight a lot longer than you think, but there is a limit to that, and if you're a bit of a spray and prayer, yeah, you're going to run out of ammunition quicker than what you think. But obviously, I've not used I mean, in this battle, I almost ran out of ammunition. I was down to like 50 bullets, but that's just to give you an idea. Even though I got the result that I did, if I wasn't such trigger happy that I was, I probably could have gotten a much better result. So, let's get into the battle and let's go over the British Hellcat. As you can tell, I've been doing a lot of work with the premiums that I've obviously been flying. The Hellcat Mark II battle that you're about to see was my very first flight in this aircraft. And in this battle, I'm with Shadow, Munchkin, and Tanker for you 1234. In this battle, I think Munchkin bought the premium Spitfire for the Italians, the Pacifier, and he bought it because of my review on it. And being 650 Golden Eagles, this aircraft comes in at the same price on discount. I'm just going to jump us ahead, just for a moment, because the Wyverns are giving me bloody earache. You will see a lot of Wyverns on your team, but it's nothing too serious to really take into effect. So, do I think this aircraft, whilst we're in the cockpit and it's nice and quiet, other than the nice purring engine, do I think this aircraft is worth 1300 Golden Eagles? I would personally say yes. The main reason for that is because it's a great farmer if you need to use it in tank forces. It earns a good silver line modifier to the point where I've gotten over 62 million SL now. Well, not from this aircraft, but this is the one that kicked me over the 62 million mark. And I have to admit, this aircraft is a lot of fun to actually have some time in. Now obviously most of these vehicles do not have the marker distinction finished. I'm going to be working on that, so if you see me in these new premiums, that's why. So, I think the Hellcat's got like 100,000 RP required, but even so. So as you can tell, we're 2 minutes and almost 30 seconds into the battle, and we've only just ticked over the 5,000 feet mark, which is about 1,500 meters, give or take. This is the problem with the Hellcat. If you don't have patience, this thing will not work for you. This is purely an aircraft that requires its pilot to have at least a bit of patience. I have the patience of a saint, so this is no problem. I can get this Hellcat as high as I like and I won't care. I can be patient. But as you can tell, the enemy team is coming in high. They mostly have 109s and Yaks, and subsequently I need to gain some more altitude before I turn into engage, and this is going to cost my team a couple of planes. I'm probably going to get some criticism for that, but bear in mind that at the altitude we're at, I need all the speed and altitude I can get, because the Hellcat really needs altitude to work. Now the turn rate of this aircraft is actually rather surprising. You're actually able to keep with BF-109s as long as you keep your speed up. This was interesting for me to learn because at the end of the day, I hadn't flown a Hellcat as a fighter in about 5 years. If you're curious about belts, 600 meters convergence, universal belts, although I would actually advise ground targets, and 500 meters convergence. But as you can tell, I was easily able to keep on the tail of that BF-109, and that's going to be my first kill for the match. Now, down on the deck, Shadow is farming in his A21. I think he was only half spaded in this battle, so his climb rate was poor and his aircraft performance wasn't amazing, and he obviously tried to fight, but against a Yak, a 109 and an LA7, there's only so much you can do on your own. Shadow manages to crit one of the 109s, but then the 109 decides to give him a hug, and that takes Shadow out the fight. So now it's down to me, Tanker, Munchkin, and a Corsair, he just died, and a Focke-Wulf 190A5 Jackal-Wolf, which I actually think he is dead. I'm not actually sure. He's either dead or he's returning to base on a dead engine. Now, and speaking of the devil, there he goes. It's now down to me and my squad. Now you can see the compression kicking in here. It is a bit brutal, but if you get used to it, you'll know when to pull out of dive safely, and you'll be able to work over your targets that you're choosing. Kill number 2. Aim was a bit poor at first there, but then eventually I led a bit more and managed to get the shots on target. So that leaves 3 enemy aircraft left, a Me-264, a Chinese B-25J-30, and that Yak-9T which is engaging Munchkin and Tanker. Now it says in the battle feed down there that the 264 has just crashed. He has, but that's nothing to worry about. And at this point, Munchkin was trying to catch this Yak-9, and so was Tanker. But their aircraft don't have the legs to do it. This does. I said to Munchkin, I'll take it from here. I can catch him. I'm pretty certain I can. And as you can tell, this thing is actually quite a beast on the deck. Once you get it wound up, it really does start to shift, and I really do have to admit this thing pleasantly surprised me on the deck. Being able to catch this Yak-9T felt good, and given it's the last enemy fighter, I wanted it dead before I went for the 264 and the B-25. The Yak's still trying to outrun me, but at this point I pull the nose up slightly, and this is where the Yak makes a mistake. He pulls it into the vertical thinking I won't follow, but I do. I set him on fire again, and pilot snipe him for kill number 3. Now you'll hear the throttle cranking back here. That is purely because I was riding this thing like a boss on WEP. The WEP is powerful, but you really do have to limit its use. It's another one of those radial engine planes that seem to have a problem with overheating when they really shouldn't. So monitoring your temperatures is quite vital to this aircraft's capability. Now unfortunately, during all that, Tanker's engine has actually died, and he is not going to make it back to base. So it's now left to me and Munchkin to try to carry this match, because, well, I say carry, I mean, our team did pretty well. I have to give them that, but, well, 2 of my squad didn't get any kills, and Munchkin, I think, got 1, I think? I can't remember what he got, but even so, to say this was my first fight of this Hellcat, I wasn't expecting to have to do this sort of map, or this sort of match, but I was more than down for it. So all that's left is the 264, who is currently repairing, and he's about to repair right now, and the Chinese B-25. This is where Munchkin is going to start to ask me to let him kill the Chinese B-25. I was originally going to let him, but then I thought, hang on a minute, you're a Spitfire. You're not tanky. This thing can be. So I said to Munchkin, right, if you want to pass, take it now, because otherwise I'm going to take a pass and I will kill him in this pass. I can promise you that. So committing to the dive, coming in at full speed. I'm obviously watching my airspeed. Going for the shots on the Chinese B-25. I set it on fire twice. Munchkin was shooting at it there to try and nick it, but he did get an assist out of it. So, I mean, at least he didn't get the kill. That's all I will say. Cause let's put it this way: I'd have been pissed if he'd have nicked that. But even so, again, as you can hear, I've throttled back the engines, and I have taken, well, the engine, I should say. This thing's not a freaking Bowfire, is it? And I have taken a bit of fuselage damage. This isn't really important, but this kill here on this bot, the ammo I sprayed probably could have been useful later down the line. So, let's jump us ahead and let's get to the final part, because it's about 3 minutes away. I thought the 264 was over here, but no, he's actually behind me, and there's the flak, so I knew this was a one-way trip. And Shadow in a moment is about to pop a blind hunt order, which is where I locate the 264. Now the approach angle I take for the 264 is not recommended. This was purely because I knew this was going to be a one-way trip for this Hellcat with the damage that I had, and subsequently I had to engage it the way I did. And subsequently I took a bit of a risk, but it paid off. So that was certainly something that I wasn't expecting to have to do. But at the end of the day, we got the kill on the 264. I was left with about 70 rounds, and that turned out to be a good first impressions, I thought. So like I say, the Hellcat is certainly something that I would say you should get if you can get it on a 50% off at either Christmas or the November sale. I would seriously recommend getting this aircraft. It is a lot of fun. Just bear in mind you have to be patient for this thing to work. It really is something that is a patient person sort of aircraft, and if you are that patient sort of person, this is certainly the aircraft for you. But anyway, I'm going to let you guys off. I hope you enjoyed today's review on the Hellcat Mark II, and I will catch you all on the next one.